Good evening, YouTube. It's me, Hellhound, or if you prefer to call me Horror Metal, because yes, I am the head honcho of the Horror Metal channel. Yippee, big whoop. I mean, I'm Hellhound. There's also Spellbinder, Dark Wolf, White Geist, Violator, but I run the channel. I created the channel. I do the majority of the videos, a good 99% actually, so some of my friends and fellow YouTubers, including Matt the Collector and Irish Knight, often refer to me as Horror Metal, so yeah, I can be Hellhound, aka Horror Metal, that's fine, you can call me that. In fact, in some of my earlier reviews, which I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I referred to myself as the horror and metal guy, because I couldn't think of anything better. Until I decided on Hellhound, which is a name I used in junior high in a band that I was in. We all had stage names, and it was really stupid. I barely could play guitar that well back then, but whatever. Anyway, I haven't done a video in a while. I've mostly been into comics lately. I've collected so many more since the last time you got a glimpse of my comic collection, that previous video when I was organizing, sorting them. They're all put away, all bagged and boarded, boxed. I spent about $400 in the last 2 weeks on comics. I got some really good, rare and, somewhat valuable collector's items. Most of them aren't in mint condition, but I don't care because I'm going to read them constantly anyway, and I'm not planning on selling them any day, anytime soon or anytime in the far future. Maybe my kids will inherit them, whatever. But I'm mostly into comics, and, got some good ones, and I'll share that in the future video. But I figured I'd do another movie review, because, what the hell, I haven't in a while. And I literally just looked at my shelf and said, what should I review? Pretty much the first thing that caught my eye was The Lost Boys. One of my favorite movies. Great 80s vampire flick, and I've also already reviewed Fright Night, which is probably my #1 favorite vampire movie of all time. This is probably my second, not counting all the various Dracula adaptions, because, of course, Dracula is going to be probably the best vampire that ever existed in any media, books, movies, whatever. Hell, even video games, like the Castlevania series, but anyway, The Lost Boys it is. I'm going to tell you why this movie is one of my favorites and is so awesome. It's also very nostalgic for me. I watched it at a very young age and immediately fell in love with it. Alright, so it's also directed by Joel Schumacher, who's best known as the guy who ruined the Batman franchise that was started by Tim Burton. He directed Batman Forever, which was the beginning of the end and where the series started to go downhill, and then the truly abysmal piece of crap Batman and Robin, which I don't even need to talk about why it's a disaster. I was also planning on reviewing all the Superman and Batman films, since I already talked about Batman vs. Superman after it first came out, and I gave it a pretty positive review, but, after giving it some thought, there were a lot of things I didn't like. Anyway, sorry for the rambling. I should have taken the name The Rambler or Tangent. That would probably been more appropriate than Hellhound or Horror Metal. But whatever. Let's talk about The Lost Boys. Came out in 1987. Great movie, very 80s. Basically, the plot is the two brothers, Michael and Sam, played by Jason Patric and Corey Haim, rest in peace, moved to the town of Santa Carla, which is based on Santa Clara, in California. And they noticed that, there's several, missing persons lists, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty normal for a city in California, but they don't know why exactly. They moved there with their mom, what's her name, Diane West? Yeah, the chick from Edward Scissorhands. They moved there with their mom to her dad's house, their grandfather. I guess their parents just had a divorce or something. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched this, but it's still fresh enough in my mind to give it a proper review, so don't worry. They move there. Basically, Sam falls in love with this really beautiful girl named Star. Kind of a strange name, but he falls in love with her, kind of comes into her world, discovers that she's kind of dating the leader of a motorcycle gang. A very brutal and vicious motorcycle gang who are shown killing some dude that worked as a security guard, I guess, at the carnival in the opening scene of the movie. His name's David, played by Kiefer Sutherland, who's a great actor. Hasn't really done too much recently, but he was in Mirrors. That was a pretty cool movie. I liked it. Kiefer Sutherland's great. He plays David, who turns out is a vampire, as are his entire gang. They're all vampires. And David's one of my favorite movie vampires, by the way. Right up there with Jerry Dandridge and, of course, Dracula, Count Orlok from Nosferatu. The list just goes on. But he's definitely one of the top 5. Hell, probably in the top 3. Anyway, yeah, Michael really wants Star. But David, he's just a very well played by Kiefer Sutherland. He gives a very icy, chilling performance, very taunting. He's always teasing Michael. I just love it. He does it so great. He just eats up that part. He does a very good job. Very convincing in the role, as is all the rest of the cast. Jason Patric, Corey Haim, all of them. They're all good. Even Edward Herman, who is a guy who works at a video store that their mom starts to date, or maybe she worked at the video store. It's not important. Anyway, she starts dating this guy named Edward Herman, played by Edward Herman. His name's Max, and he has a dog named Thorn, just as Sam has a dog named Nanook. They're both like some type of wolf. I'm not really good with dog breeds, but anyway. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, Michael's hanging out with vampires. They want him to join their gang, make him one of them. David tricks him into drinking his blood. After a very cool scene where he makes some rice, from a Chinese restaurant look like maggots, and some noodles look like worms. Very, very cool scene. You'll know what I mean if you watch the movie. I really love the vampire's lair too. It's like in a cave, and it goes underground. They have like a big poster of Jim Morrison from The Doors, who was one of my heroes growing up. Back when I was a wannabe neo hippie who loved classic rock. They have their lair is just totally awesome. I'd love to live down there. Hell, even if vampires were there. But yeah, so that's the basic plot of the movie. Michael's becoming a vampire. He's slowly turning. But he's only like a halfling. He's only half vampire until he makes his first kill. And so that's what David's trying to do. Or maybe he's trying to make Star a full vampire and have Michael be your first girl. It's kind of strange. It's not really clear what David's true motivations are. And he's definitely hiding some kind of secret that's revealed at the very end. I won't give it away. Well, if I do, it'll be at the end of the review, so don't worry. But yeah, Michael starts discovering he's a vampire. He has to live with it. All kinds of crazy scenes showing his transformation. It's really, really neat. But anyway, that's the basic plot. What makes this movie so great is the tone, the atmosphere, the soundtrack. This movie has some great songs. Cry Little Sister is played throughout the movie. Oh god, truly great song. Awesome soundtrack. Awesome score. Whoever composed this is a genius. Let's see, I gotta give him credit. Music by Thomas Newman. Hell yeah, well done, Thomas. This is a gothic, dark tone. It's really hard to believe this is the same guy who screwed up Batman. And in fact, that this movie actually leads me to believe that it wasn't all Schumacher's fault for the Batman films. I think it was more the studio pushing him to make it more kid-friendly. But anyway, yeah, he just excels at this movie. It was great. He even threw a few gay undertones in there, but who cares? It's nothing compared to the bat nipples and the bat butt close-ups. I just love the tone of the movie and the scenery. Just as I said, the vampire's lair, just the city, the shots of the city. It's just beautiful. It's a very gloomy. Lots of nighttime scenes. There's just a very gloomy, grim atmosphere. That's just what makes it so awesome. It's like a very, very 80s. Like a party type movie. The sleep all day, party all night. It's fun to be a vampire. That's the tagline. It just, this explains the feel of the movie, like the vibe you're going to get from it perfectly. It just makes just such a great feeling you get when you watch this. I just fell in love with it when I first watched it. Have ever since. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's very fair. I was going to say an 8, but no, this deserves a 9. Maybe it's not a solid 10, because it's by no means perfect. There are a few things that aren't really clear, don't make sense. And I'll get to one of the flaws in a moment. It's kind of a spoiler, so I'll save it towards the end. So people who haven't seen this movie, turn the video off for the real spoiler. I'll let you know. As I said, the performances are great. You really feel for Jason Patric's character, Michael Emerson. he just, wants this girl so bad, he'll do just about anything to get her. What he's going through, showing him become a vampire, the pain. It's just very brilliantly acted, and taken very seriously, too. This isn't really a fun, cheesy 80s movie. Maybe a few parts have that kind of vibe, but it's mostly very dark and serious. And the grandpa, who's basically the comic relief character, is hilarious. I love his character. He is so friggin' funny. Oh my god, he stole every scene he was in. Oh gosh, I just love the grandpa. And he actually saves the day on a few occasions, and it's just really funny. But anyway, the rest of the David's vampire gang, one of the members actually being Alex Winters, best known as Bill from Bill and Ted. Shut up, Ted, and excellent. Hey, Rufus, actually sounded more like Ted when I did that, but whatever. Yeah, he's Bill. He doesn't really have much to do here, nor do any of the others. They're very, I wouldn't say wooden, but they're very underdeveloped, very two-dimensional. It's mostly just all about David. He steals the spotlight. The others are just kind of there to give him more of an aura of just badassery, for lack of a better word. I think I just made that up. A very cool scene, they're playing Aerosmith's Walk This Way, showing all the vampires devouring all these people, killing them, ripping them to shreds, feeding on them, throwing them in the body parts in the fire, while Michael's just screaming, no! They first see him with his vampire eyes. Just very, very awesome. Sorry, I had to do that to get the screenshot for the thumbnail of this video, so pardon that. Sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, so the soundtrack's great. Cry Little Sister, all the other songs, just such a great gothic tone, which I just love. I love movies that have that feel to it. I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but the shots, they could have picked a better setting, a better location. It's a very good idea to set a vampire film. And a lot of them up to the, before the 80s, a lot of them weren't in a contemporary setting. A lot of them weren't modern day. It was all, like ancient times, and once the 80s hit, there were maybe a few, like, I guess Dracula, 1972 and stuff, but some comedies as well. Fright Night and Lost Boys, and movies like Near Dark. They really, I think they really brought vampires, like, kind of, not really more into the mainstream, but they definitely made them more modern and, like, a little more, definitely a more serious take on vampires. Sorry, you have to excuse me, I'm a little tired. It's been a long day. But I went hiking earlier, and so I'm pretty worn out. But anyway, yeah. Great movie. I highly recommend it. The tone, the soundtrack, everything's very well done. The acting, the characters are just so well written. Some truly terrifying, suspenseful scenes as well. Some really comedic, more lighthearted scenes. Mostly it's all about the atmosphere and just the tone, which I've said 1,000 times already. Just so well done. I'll go ahead and reveal the spoiler, the ending. So if you don't want it ruined, I guess turn the video off now. I actually figured it out early on, so spoiler alert. The secret David was protecting, the head vampire, the real head vampire, who's even above him, David, is Max, the guy that played by Edward Herrmann that Diane Wiest's character is playing, the mother. There's a scene where he said, he told Michael that he had to invite him in, and at that point I was thinking, wait a minute, that's what vampires do. And then it was kind of disproven in the later scene. Sam and the Frog Brothers, who I guess I forgot to mention, I can't believe that, played by Jamison Newlander and Corey Feldman, who I don't think I have to explain who he is. Him and Corey Haim are in a lot of movies together after this, by the way. Good old Corey Feldman, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, Gremlins, Stand By Me, Goonies, he was in a lot of my favorite 80s movies. But, yeah, they're the Frog Brothers. They're kind of like de facto vampire hunters. They work at a comic store, much like yours truly, and they love horror comics. They warn Sam when he gets to the town. They know what's going on. They're really cool characters. Jemison Newlander, Edgar and Alan Frog. Jemison Newlander's Alan, I guess. He's very underdeveloped. He doesn't have many lines. He doesn't really have much of an impact. It's all mostly about Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog. So anyway, Sam invites those two to dinner. They're trying to prove that Max is a vampire. They get him to eat garlic. They pour holy water on him. They even pulled a mirror up to him, which weirdly enough he does have a reflection. It's shown earlier in the movie that Michael was like almost transparent when he saw himself in the mirror. So I don't know. I guess maybe really powerful vampires can have a reflection. I don't know. It's never really explained, but it doesn't really care. That doesn't detract from the movie at all. That seems to never bother me. But it turns out he really is a vampire. And when he does turn, he's not very threatening. The makeup kind of looks silly. I just kind of laugh at it. And the way he talks, don't fight it, Lucy. So much better if you don't fight. And, I still want you, Lucy. I haven't changed my mind about that. Yeah, it was kind of better when David was just like the head villain, but he'd already been killed at this point. So you haven't turned the video off. If you haven't seen this movie yet, turn the video off, and I spoiled it for you. Sorry, but I did warn you. He's still pretty cool, though. I love his evil laugh. He was very demonic. So I'm not knocking Edward Herrmann. He actually passed away recently, so the late Edward Herrmann, rest in peace. He did a good job, and it was a pretty cool twist, and I liked how they actually went out of their way to rule it out early in the movie, though I still kind of had my doubts. I still had my suspicions that he was, in fact, a vampire, even though they disproved it. Edgar and Alan Frog helped them, destroy the vampires. The grandpa comes and saves the day, and the last line of the movie still gets me to this day. The grandpa comes in, he just ran into the house in his car, killed Max, who, one of the wooden stakes came off the truck and impaled him. The grandpa is just kind of like exhausted, and Diane Weiss says, "Dad, what's wrong?" He's like, "One thing about Santa Carla I never could stomach, all the damn vampires." And the movie closes with a cover of the song "People Are Strange" by the Doors. It's just like, wow. As that moment happens, as the end credits start rolling, you hear "People Are Strange," just like, wow, what a movie. Wow. Those are my thoughts. That was my initial reaction from my first impressions when I first popped this baby in years and years ago, and probably on a VHS. Definitely on a VHS. First loaded into a VCR, watched it, and I was like, wow, bravo, well done, very well done. I had no idea at the time that Joel Schumacher would go on to ruin Batman, but again, watching this movie, you can't really blame him. He's not a bad director. This movie is definitely evidence of that. It proves, more than enough proves that he's worthy. And he had a few other good films. I can't fault the man. I think those movies are pretty much doomed to begin with. But anyway, that's The Lost Boys. Very good movie. As I said, it's probably my second vampire movie of all time next to Fright Night. I highly recommend it. Very, very well done all around. What can I say? Check it out if you haven't already. Alright guys, well, that's The Lost Boys from 1987, directed by Joel Schumacher, the guy who ruined Batman. Just keep this movie in mind next time somebody makes a statement about that. If only this had been made after, could have been his redemption. But then it would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s. So no, we don't want that. It's got to have the 80s feel. That was part of the charm. But, you know what I mean. People can look back and say, oh, well, maybe the guy's not so bad after all. Alright, guys. Well, that's been our review of The Lost Boys. Haven't done a video in a while, so I definitely want to put that out there. I think I made a good choice. Thank you for watching my show. I am Hellhound, or if you prefer, Horror Metal. Until next time, keep it horror.